You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back.
So we skipped ahead on our last podcast, but two podcasts ago I was in Vegas, and it was right before I would get sick, but I didn't know it yet. I was still having a pretty good time in Vegas.
Yeah, because you got sick pretty early in your trip, so that's just the worst luck, really. But
yeah, lucky I actually went a day early, so I got one more day before everything went haywire.
Forgot about that. That is some good luck mixed in with some horrible luck, but that's kind of how it shakes out sometimes.
Yeah, so we left off. I was at the Wynn, one of my favorite poker rooms in Vegas. Just really great. The Thursday, I go to Troopers game over at the Westgate, which was really cool because me and you have been playing pool. Neither of us are really good at it, competitive players, but they had a gigantic pool convention. So I was kind of just walking around looking at everything because I got to the game early. Pretty sick what it was. It was pretty neat to run into that. But
it's kind of crazy because, like, in poker, right, like, someone can be way better than you, and it's hard to really visualize or kind of see it sometimes. But in pool, it's so obvious because everyone knows what you're trying to do, and, it's just so apparent.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So I go to Troopers game. It's very, short-handed second table. Like, I'm on the list, and they finally do it, but it's, 5 or 6 people. And I love playing short-handed, but everybody else is bitching. Eventually, there's another game that's not part of that game, and they just end up kind of dispersing our table, and we go over, and I end up playing over there. And it was a lot of fun because it was really no poker players over there. It was all people from that pool convention.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a great game.
It was a great game, and I played like dog shit. It was one of those that I can't even complain that I ran bad. I had multiple times where I should have won a lot more in a hand or lost a lot more. The notes are spotty, but it was just one that I played bad. I ended up winning $50, and it was probably a game I should have been up $400, $500. It was, a disaster. So, end up leaving there. I wanted to go and check out MGM. So, and I go to the hotel room, then take a break for a minute, and then go down to MGM, played there, and got into some really interesting hands. I ended up playing I was playing 1-2, which is they don't do 1-3, but they do 1-2 uncapped. So it's a lot like Golden Nugget now. So it's pretty cool because it's one of the few places you can play really deep. So it kind of simulates a Texas game, but just without the wildness.
I don't know if that's that great, but
yeah. And so I get seated at the table, and you ever get I like people who are friendly. I don't want a bunch of people who are just staring at their cards, doing nothing. It's just boring. But there's some people that don't know how to tone it down, and literally can't stop and take a breath every now and then. Ever been in this situation?
Well, I think you entertain it more than I do, so not really, but...
Well, it didn't matter. This guy was talking nonstop, so it wasn't entertaining. It wasn't really entertaining it or anything. But he is just going... seemed like a nice guy, but God, it was just and like I say, I like friendly people. I like a friendly table, but he was just over the top nonstop. So they end up talking about doing a 2-5 game. And they're like, is anybody interested? I immediately hold up my hand. I would have played 2-5 anyways, but with this table being kind of how it looked like it was going to be, I was 100% on board. I go and play 2-5, and this was easily the most fun game, both poker-wise as far as hands that I got into, and just the table in general. When I think 2-5 in Vegas, I usually think about a bunch of, grinders just, kind of looking at their cards, everybody staring at each other and all that. MGM constantly gets a really different, like, home game type feel. And it kind of started out that way, but God almighty, it went to the point where, like, the entire table was doing shots with each other. So it gets pretty crazy. I get into some very interesting spots. So a guy limps in fairly late position. I make it 25 with 7-9 of hearts.
Right. This is dicey.
Yeah, I think there's more. There's definitely had to be more limps here. This note can't be right. So I think there were like 2 or 3 limps, and I was like, well, there's nobody can be all that strong. I'm in late position. I attack it with 25. I was kind of hoping to take everything down. Did not happen.
So that's the nature of 9-7. You're hoping to take it down.
Yeah, I believe there's just one call. Flop comes ace 4-4 with 2 spades, and I have 7-9 of hearts. So not the flop of dreams were made of. So I bet 20. It's about a third pot, as I tend to do. He calls. So I'm pretty much done with this hand, really. The turn is the 8 offsuit. So ace 4-4 and then 8 offsuit. He checks. Well, I guess it wasn't. You know what? It was not bad. I barrel for 60. So here's my theory. I'm obviously out of line a little bit because I immediately thought I checked without looking at the notes. So my theory was this guy's not limping a ton of aces here. He would be betting ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10. So I think I have all the good aces here. It's unlikely he flopped a 4. So, and there's a lot of hands like pocket 5s or something like that, pocket 6s that would call one bet but won't call the second. So I bet 60, he calls.
This is setting up for a disaster. I can already... Oh, boy. All right.
The river is a 7. A river of 7. He donks 125. So I kind of go into the tank because 2 spades were on the flop. I think it's unlikely he flopped a 4. And if he never has a big ace here, he either has ace 7 or he would check all of his lower aces to me.
God, are you going to raise?
I mean, I'm never raising.
I thought that's what you were proposing.
You've lost your mind.
Well, that's what I thought you were about to propose to me. I knew it was going off the rails.
I'm trying to reason a call here.
Okay, I knew this thing went off the rails, but...
So I kind of... him and Hall, and I think, well, I think the small aces are very rare here. I don't think 4 is very hard to hit. And with spade draws, there would be a lot more of them than the ace. And I don't think he would be donking 125. I call and he has 3-10 of spades.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think this is a shrug call, but I don't know after your analysis of it. But
yeah, it was. So I thought that was a pretty good call because I could easily talk myself into you could very easily talk yourself into just button clicking and being like, well, this guy's betting here on the river and he's just got it type deal. So I kind of like that call.
I was at first I was thinking fold, literally just like you said. You didn't even ask me what I would do, but after you gave me your analysis, I was thinking it was a shrug call.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought. Well, I mean, I didn't know what I would do because immediately when I was reading my notes, I'm like, well, obviously I'm done here. And then I'm like, I bet 60. Okay, well, that's one way to go about it.
Right here is when you were getting sick.
Yeah. So I end up with another hand. I have ace 10 of spades on the button. Guy raises from the hijack to 20.
You 3-betting this?
I did 3-bet this.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this is a good 3-bet spot.
I 3-bet to 60 and he calls. So, the flop is Jack 10-5.
No spades, obviously, or else you would tell us.
Yeah, no spades. I bet but there was a flush draw though available.
Okay.
So I bet he checks. I bet 40. This is kind of a weird bet by me. I mean,
I thought it was okay. I like this. I'm still on board right now.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I'm like, well, I kind of have showdown value here, and I'm not sure a whole lot worse is calling.
I mean, I think people can justify calling with random flush draws. I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all because you're also going to be betting this with your ace jacks and pocket jacks, pocket tens.
I mean,
aces, kings. So I think this is. I like this. I'm still with this right now.
Okay, that's good because I was kind of, but I mean, I kind of defaulted that 33% bet when I'm in position, so I end up doing that. The turn is a 7.
So I take it he called.
He did. Yeah, he does call. The turn is a 7. He checks it. This is obviously a check back.
I was going to say, yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. The river's a 3, and he jams for 140.
How much did you bet? Wait, how much is that compared to the pot? Is this just another shrug call?
Let me see. So that's a huge factor here. 60, it makes 120 to the flop. I bet 40, so it's actually 200 in the pot.
This is less than pot?
This is less than pot.
And the front door flush bricked?
Front door flush bricks.
I think I'm just shrug calling again.
I kind of do the same. It's I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, like at this point, I'm trying to even remember my reasonings here. I'm like like you say, the flush draw bricks, and I'm like, well, he could do this with easily like king queen,
8-9, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all those would play this way. I mean, even like queen 9 suited would probably do this.
I mean, definitely.
So it's I end up making the tank, kind of a tank call. I mean, I'm getting really good odds.
That's what I was about to say. You're getting good odds. I mean,
so
you don't have to be right that often for this to be a good play. So
yeah, I mean, so I tank call and he has king 9 of hearts and I'm good.
Yeah, a bunch of bluffers.
I mean, it was a bluffing table, wasn't it? End up making 550 on that session. So it was, which I was pretty happy with. Because, I mean, there are a lot of sessions that, like, you can play amazing and you're just going to lose. Or you play, it's kind of harder when you play like crap to win. But there are times you just, I mean, there's times you have 3 suckouts. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then you just win. I thought this one was one that could have easily gone either way. And I thought making some good decisions on this one was really made it to be a profitable session. So getting back to on Vegas, so that was kind of my last like big
kind of session before before you got sick and started playing like hour and a half sessions.
Yeah.
Because you tried for a while, so that's why. I mean, I imagine you have a few really short ones. I think you said you went to one place for like 45 minutes. So
yeah, it was, and I just could not do it type deal. Ace king. So that was kind of it. I'm trying to remember, like towards the end of the session, the trip, I was better. I won't say I was better. I was way better than I was. So ended up not doing much at all though. So that was kind of the trip. It was just kind of a shitty trip in general. I was definitely down a little bit on that trip, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to be down that much when you're just not playing any poker.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know. That just kind of is what it is at that point.
Yeah, so now on the very, very big upswing of the news, I actually came in second in one of the bigger tournaments I played last Friday.
Oh, man. I was so pumped whenever you text me to get 10% of that. Ooh-wee.
Yeah, I did it on such a fluke, too. It was I was like, I just started. I was like, well, I knew you were at work, so I was like, well, I bet Tyler would want like a piece of this just to kind of follow along type deal. I did not know what was going to happen, and then
I mean, you want to talk about just a roller coaster of emotions too, because when you're in this tournament, and I know whenever you're in a tournament, like it's hard to text and keep up with whenever you're playing, but I'm like, you're like, well, I'm near the bubble, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it'd be cool to get my $20 back. And then I'm like, well, then you're like, 30 people left, 20. I'm like, oh man. And then like it went silent for a while. And you're like, final table. I was like, oh wow. I mean, and then just how fast things progressed.
oh, it was absolutely just like that too. It was well towards the beginning. I was just card dead. I flop dead when I did have it. And I'm like, well, Tyler just got 10% of nothing because there's nothing that's going to happen in this tournament. It goes forever that way. And in the middle of the tournament, I start hitting pretty big hands. It's
Isn't that so weird when people always say it's not the beginning of the tournament you want to run well and it's the end? It's like, couldn't be more true.
oh, 100%.
And it's crazy how often you come from like, I mean, very middle of the pack coming into like the second half of the tournament to make, I mean, I don't want to say like a roaring comeback, but to really go run a deep run. It seems like not very often you start off as like chip leader and just stay chip leader the whole time. It seems like, especially the tournaments you've run deep in, you've been, I mean, I don't want to say whittled down, but definitely kind of had to run really well there at the end, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I play. Like, I think where most people mess up on tournaments, or these small tournaments, is they think they can just kind of grind their way to a win. I mean, to play tournaments, you just have to embrace the variance. So, like in the beginning, I play a lot like a cash game. I mean, it's the deeper stacks. But as it gets further and further, you know, I don't have a problem shoving. And, you know, if I think it's a profitable shove in the long run, then I'll shove. And, you know, there's times I'm going to be behind. There's times I'm going to win the blinds. There's times I'm going to be ahead every now and then. And then there's times that I get called, but shit, I'm going to win 40% of the time a lot of times, even if I'm a dog.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting how it seems like you're never like the chip leader.
Yeah.
Going into the second half of the tournament. That's for someone who has run deep in so many tournaments, it's just weird that you've never just been off to a booming start. You know, been a clear cut like, hey, you know, you have like 3x the average stack or whatever, just a ton of chips compared to everyone else and just ride it to the final table. It seems like you're always kind of like in that 12th spot whenever it comes close to the final table and then really run good. That's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, even this one, I came into this. Okay, we went to 2 tables, and I think it was like 13 or 14 paid or so. It got to the bubble, and I came in with a pretty big stack, but even then, like I got into a weird spot where someone bet pretty hard, and I had Jack 10 suited. This is going to sound like the donkiest of plays.
But you came in second, so it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay.
It has to be good.
I call. He flop a jack, but it is I think, what was it? It's 7-8 jack. He jams 2.5 times the pot. And I'm sitting over here. Have a pretty massive chip. I mean, I have a pretty massive chip stack. And there's a good. I'm almost surely going to cash. And still have a pretty big stake. And I had him covered by quite a bit. But I mean, it would have been, I think, like about 50 to 60% of my chips.
I think I'm folding this. Just my first thought.
I thought you were just gonna think I was losing my mind. I actually did fold here.
Yeah, I think this is fine.
Yeah, it's a.
I mean, he's representing just such a strong hand, and this is what's interesting. You talk about this to me every once in a while. Is when you're on that bubble, there's never what do you say? There's never any more EV or whatever. Whenever you go from zero to making money compared to moving up the ladders.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you kind of have a guaranteed cash, I don't want to. It sounds weird to say, but I think that comes into play here. I mean, I'm definitely, if he's representing a super strong hand and I'm not even in the money, and then if I make this call and I'm wrong and he has what he's very obviously representing seems like a pretty big blunder, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of things in poker where people go to the extreme. Like before, because people used to make fun of the people who are just like min cash and play conservative and all that. But it does come into play. Like you can overdo it, but like you say, there's never going to be more EV than going from 0 to that to that cash. So and then if you play aggressively and you get knocked out, well, I mean, sometimes you're just, I mean, even if you cash and you have like not as big of a stack as if you played aggressively, you still can level up at that point, ladder up here and there. I was being this level in the tournament. I did not think it was. I was like, well, this guy has aces, kings, queens here, ace jack. Or king jack, queen
better
jack.
Jacks is really what I think he probably has.
Yeah, so I ended up making that fold, and he later said that I did have him beat, but he had a lot of equity. I think he had like something like a 2 overs and a gutter.
Yeah, I mean either.
No, it wouldn't be a gutter, but 2 overs and like some backdoor draws.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
I don't mind that. I mean, I thought even if it was you were ahead in EV, I think with the bubble equity and stuff, I think it seems good to me.
I mean, with the 2 times pot and on there, it seems weird to just get stacked, to lose almost your entire stack off a top pair, not that great kicker.
I mean, definitely.
So it was.
Seems like we'll toss you right back in the pond after that.
Yeah. So I think, like I say, I think people probably used to play way too conservative on the bubble, but then I think people kind of ended up losing their minds here and there too. So end up doing that. I fold there, and I tell you what, I got dwindled. Like I cash fairly easily, but then I get dwindled down. I go card dead to no end. And I can't get a hand to stand up to anybody. It is getting more aggressive. The players left are pretty decent. I get to go for it.
I mean, I remember getting this message whenever you're telling me like that you cash. I was like, all right, cool. But then I was asking how many blinds and stuff you have, and I was like, well, I mean, this is over. I mean, at least maybe I make $3 to $8. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, like this is over. Like you said, I mean, you just got whittled down so low, and then just seemed like just an explosion happens.
Explosion does happen. It was, by the time we got to the finals, I cashed fairly easily, and then kind of laddered up a little bit, but I was dwindling blinds very, very fast, and then finally get to the final table. But I get to the final table, it's like 5 blinds or something.
I was about to say, you were on complete fumes.
Yeah. It's, end up jamming, end up doubling up, and then get a couple more jams where I just get the blinds, and then just, it's one of those things that it takes off from there.
And one thing that you always tell me is a lot of people don't realize how important late stage of the tournament winning the blinds. I mean, that's huge for you whenever you're that short. When you have 5 blinds and you win the blind, I mean, that's gigantic.
Well, and you got to think the big blind, you also have a big blind ante. So, I mean, if I have 10 blinds and I, take the blinds without deal, I've increased my stack like 25%. So, I mean, it's because you got the small blind and obviously the big blind ante. So, end up just making a tear on this. And there was one hand I got pretty lucky on. Queen 8, get it all in, and I end up turning and rivering a straight to a pair. So, that was pretty nice.
Definitely seems like everyone in these deep run tournaments, you got to get lucky at some point.
Well, if you're making your way, I think there was 148 people in this tournament. I mean, if you're going to get second, I mean, unlikely you're not going to. I mean, you're going to need to get lucky at some point, even if it's getting hands. So end up making second place for a pretty big score on there. I mean, big score comparatively for me. So I mean, let's not. I mean, I'm not. Trust me, I'm not retiring. That whole thing about me getting another job. Guess what? I didn't call them and say no, I'm good. But end up second for like 4,700 or 4,570. So pretty. We ended up doing an ICM chop when it got to 4 ways. So that was a nice little score for me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all of a sudden you have yourself a tournament bankroll. It's not going to last long, but you got it.
Well, and it was weird because I obviously anybody who listens to this knows I'm not a big tournament guy, and I play 95% cash games, but I just felt burnt out on that one day, and I was like, man, I don't know, grinding cash games is getting very grindy.
I mean, all I hear is you just won half of your buy-in to the main event next year.
Yeah, I'm a tournament guy now. I'm gonna be do these tournaments. It's a so yeah, it was like I say, it was just on a kind of a whim. I was like, well, kind of just really just kind of grindy, kind of burned out. I want something different, and ended up doing pretty good.
And I won. Very different.
Yeah, no kidding. That's super different.
So I played a session today, and I'll tell you what, it was, I mean, just awful. The session was awful. I played one hand pretty horribly, and luckily it's the first one, so we get to set the tone of the session early. Let's see. Let me scroll to the tip top of this. Okay. So we're playing 5-handed, and I get Queen Jack of Diamonds in the big blind. I make it 13 over 2 limpers.
Okay, I don't mind any of this.
I get 1 caller. The flop comes Ace, King, 8, no diamonds. I just do a standard C bet of 15, hoping I'm going to take it down.
So let me see. You made it 13.
Yep.
So okay, so 20. You were on the big blind.
Big blind. Yep.
Okay. So there's no other really dead money in the pot. 26. There were 2 limpers, so 26. So there's about 30 in the pot, and you make it 15.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This would be close for me. This is. This hits your range way better than it does that guy. Big problem is this is going to hit a lot of what he has too, and you have actually fairly decent showdown value with the hand that you have, because you have the nuts that aren't a pair, and we're going to assume every pair is going to call. I guess in a heads up pot you can probably range bet this, so I think this is probably okay.
I do the range bet, and I'm against a guy who I'd very much describe. Well, I thought he was like old man coffee grindy, thinking that he would just muck. Not this guy.
Let me throw one thing in. Is like this is about 30 in the pot. I think you can probably bet a little smaller and get the same results. I think you could do like $10, because this hits your range so hard that I think he's gonna fold everything that. Like a small pocket pairs and shit like that you're targeting, and whether it's 10 or 15, he's calling every ace and king.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
I completely bricked the turn. I'm like, well then. And I'm like, well, I still can rep. I mean, if I check, I'm basically doomed to my fate of losing. Didn't want to lose. So I bet 20, which is kind of a pointless bet after he calls 15.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's literally calling so fast. I don't even have my chips in the pot. He's already thrown 20 in there. I'm like, wow. I mean, do I just need a 10? I'm like, wow, this is a disaster. Brick the river. It's on me. I just open muck and just move on with my life. I'm like, I don't need this drama. So.
Yeah, like obviously the turn bet is where it really goes off the rails. I think you should give up on this on a multi-way pot on the flop, but on heads up, I think you could probably bet here. I think betting smaller, and obviously once he calls on this flop, I think it's just done, because he has way more aces than he does kings, and I'm not even sure you're getting him off of a king.
Well, here's my whole. I mean, what I hate even more is really the sizing. It's kind of like a what's the point sizing. I think I either need to be bigger to kind of polarize, or not be betting at all. I mean, that $20 seems like such a garbage bet size. I mean, he's just tagging along with so much stuff with that tiny of a bet.
I mean,
Like that's
I
what
definitely don't like bigger. I tell you what, if you're gonna burn money, I'd much rather it be 20 than 45 or 50. But I see what you're saying. Like this is not for value or as a bluff.
it's just such a bad size. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially the same thing as checking, except for I'm just losing more money.
Yeah, this is.
Like, I have no fold equity with this size. It's just such a garbage bet, I think, in hindsight.
Yeah,
It accomplishes nothing. So I was just like, wow, that's not what you want when you're playing poker, to be doing stuff that accomplishes nothing.
I mean, when you're the pre-flop raiser, just because you raise, I mean, if it's the worst fucking flop for your hand, you don't. I mean, you can just be like, well, shit, people outflop me. I mean, shit happens. Yeah, I agree with the turn. I like a smaller flop bet, and I think this is just a great hand just to give up on after.
Yeah, but me, big heart. Well, I guess I just give up one street later, but I guess it's hard to say I have big heart whenever on the
thank
river.
God you gave up one street later.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking about? I don't have enough money to make him fold because I bought him pretty short. So here's kind of a interesting hand. So there's some context. Someone gets aces cracked and they have a splash pot, right?
Okay.
So I'm now in the small blind versus the same opponent. And I actually the floor kind of delayed a little bit, and I just won a hand with ace king, literally the hand before, and it wasn't a big pot, like $30 or something from this guy.
Okay.
And I drilled the flop, and it came ace high, but all hearts. I just took it down. But then they like, oh, this is a splash pot now. We're shorthanded. I'm in the small blind. I have ace queen suited. The button limps. Now so everyone folds. Button limps 3.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, this is a great spot to apply maximum pressure and win this $25.
Okay, I like this.
I bet 55. The big blind flats.
I like your sizing a lot. I mean, because this is kind of a weird spot because, I mean, you can't do 15 or anything like that. With that splash pot, it changes your dynamic. So I really do like your sizing when you bet here.
Yeah, he calls the button snap folds. I mean, she was already disgusted when she saw me put the 55 out there.
Okay.
She verbalized it, so everyone knew she was folding, which was great. The flop comes Jack 10-7 with a flush draw. Not my flush draw, of course. I bet 50. He then goes all in, and it's 100 more for me to call.
Ooh, wow. That is not what your note said to me.
Oh, yeah, I left it out. I was annoyed.
Ooh, this is different. Okay, so he bets 50. And wait, did you check? Because obviously you were.
No, I'm small blind. He's big blind.
Oh, okay, I got you. Well, yeah, you act first.
I said I bet.
Wait, you bet 50. Okay, you bet 50. He rips it in.
Yeah, for 100 more. Because I bet 50 because I was like, I made it 55. I think he's calling me so wide here a lot of the time that I can just bet 50 and win.
I mean, the problem is like this flop is so wet. I mean, it hits just damn near every hand in the book at this point. Okay, so let's say you made it 55, so it's 110. Then she limped, so we're looking at about 115. Let's round it to. You make it 50, and then he rips it in for 200.
Well, that's all I had. 200 effective.
Okay.
Well, no.
It
was
150.
No. I started the hand with 200.
Okay. Oh, you started with 200?
Yeah, I started with 200.
Oh, God. So now when you bet 50, it's 100.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, that's why whenever you're saying it's a fold, I was like, it definitely seems like I'm calling most of the time here with the predicament I got myself in.
Yeah, because now you only have $50 behind.
Yeah, I had like 70, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. So yeah, it was 55, and then you make it 50. That's over, And this is a weird hand. I don't know. I mean, I think. I think. I mean, you just only have to shrug and call once you're here. I was trying to. I mean, that's definitely not the question. The question is on the flop, if you like how you should play this. But with you being so short, it's weird because this flop is so god awful for you, but you're so short here too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I like the 50. Or I mean, I think if you're gonna bet the 50 and you're gonna do this anyways, do you think you should just jam it?
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely something I would think of in this spot.
Yeah.
So it's I don't really know what I do. I mean, it's like I say, a really kind of a tough spot because you're so short and the flop is so bad for you. But at the same token, you probably have equity against a lot of hands here as well. Like say Jack 10, well, not Jack 10, like Jack 9 or 7-8, 7-9. So I mean, and then every now and then you'll get like pocket sixes or something to fold. Mm-hmm. So
unlucky for me, he had Queen 7 off. And
okay, well maybe pocket sixes are just snap calling. I don't know.
yeah, so he flopped bottom pair, and yeah, I thought 55 would get Queen 7 off to fold, but not today.
I mean, super weird rip by him.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very very weird hand.
And I lose. Nothing happened for me on the turn of the river other than I got to see another 7. Yeah, so that was all that for $20. Not that great for me.
I mean, pretty light call by Queen 7 for $55 free.
That's what I was saying. I was like, wow.
So
I got smoked in some limped pots, which is, I don't know. I feel like just so dumb whenever this happens. I'm in the big blind with 10 deuce, flop trip 10s. What did she end up having? She drills a straight with Queen Jack suited that she limped in the button, which I didn't expect.
I mean, definitely hard to expect there.
Yeah. Same story. Another limped pot where the person limped jacks and I flopped a bottom 2 pair. And she rivered. The river paired the board, so she had a better 2 pair. And that was a giant pot because it was super draw. So basically, I'm in a limped pot. I had, what did I have? I had 6-8 offsuit.
I'm guessing you're in the big blind here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like I don't know how you're in so many goddamn limp pots.
I was in the straddle, actually. I was straddling this one.
The button?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like they all called the 6. I'm like, clearly I'm just checking this.
I mean, okay, yeah. That makes sense. Okay, that's definitely relevant material because I'm just wondering how in God's name you're in so many limp pots. But that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. 'Cause, like when I say limp pots, I meant like when I'm in the straddle and I was straddling and I just checked. I called that a limp pot.
That is a limp pot. I was just trying to figure out how you got there. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, the big blind makes sense, and then this makes sense. Okay.
And I flopped bottom 2 with like 6-8 or 8 something garbage, right? And
how does the betting go on the flop?
I bet gigantic. I bet over pot, get called. The turn is a brick, so it's like it's heart, and I don't even have bottom 2 anymore. An undercard came, so I.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so I'm like, this is kind of the dream. Then I bet over, like not over. I bet like 3/4 pot again.
Okay.
She calls. The river pairs. One of the cards that's not mine, obviously.
Okay.
She checks. I tell her, you win now. I got counterfeited, and I was right. She had pocket jacks, and I got counterfeited.
Good check on the river. I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously she's not folding jacks here after her hand improves. So I mean, I would have been sometimes tempted to make it a bluff. I mean, very good check back on the river. I mean, this is one where you just got really unlucky, but I think you played it very well.
That one was nice. This is one that, you know that thing they talk about thin value? This one I might have been a bit out of line, and I got smacked down.
Okay.
So I'm in, let me think. I'm in position on this guy. This guy has been aggressive, bluffing, overbetting like 4x pot all the time, stuff like that, right?
Okay.
Playing crazy. Like I said, betting 200 into just these tiny pots and stuff, right? I'm like, okay, that's fine. I think I had 10-9 or 7-8, something like that. A suited connector.
Okay.
Me and him are heads up. I had raised pre-flop with my suited connector. I flop top 2.
That's nice.
Sorry. Second and third pair. Sorry.
Okay.
And the king was the other card, right?
So you flop bottom 2.
Bottom 2.
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Kind of even better because now you can get value from a king. Actually.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there is a front door flush draw, so I bet pretty big here. And me and him are very deep stacked, right?
Okay.
I bet pretty big. Like, I'm trying to think. I think I bet pot actually because I knew I thought he might raise me. So there's probably 30 in the pot. I bet like 30, 35.
I think I like a smaller bet here, actually. I mean, okay, so you had 7-8. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of very dependent if you have 7-8 or 9-10 here.
It wasn't 9-10.
It was 7-8, so
Yeah.
it's probably like 7-8 king.
Yep.
I think I like a smaller bet just because this hand can get very dicey very quickly. Because let's say anything above an 8 can make a better 2 pair. Anything that's a flush draw, so anything can. I mean, it's one of those hands that it. I mean, I understand the reasoning. You're betting kind of for protection, just for that exact
100%.
reason.
I'm betting for protection and also to get value from the draws. I mean, it's like, to me, it seemed like a slam dunk size up situation with a player who is calls so light on so many draws.
Well, here's the problem: is I think you're right. I think you're right but if you're super deep stacked. If you're super deep stacked on a lot of runouts, if you're getting a ton of money in here, I think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, probably.
I mean,
anytime you have bottom 2 and all the money goes in, you're normally sad. But
I mean, that's kind of my thinking. Like, I think it's very different if you have 300 behind and you're like, well, shit, we're just going with this. I mean, like we bet big on flop and we jam any good turn, right?
oh, definitely.
So I mean, but deeper stacked, this becomes kind of problematic because you just got. I mean, like almost any card above an 8 makes either a better 2 pair or a possible straight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think I like smaller here, but I understand the reason. I understand your reasoning for big, but go for it.
He calls. Turn is like deuce of clubs.
That's the best turn right there.
Exactly. So now the board is like heart, club. But I still have now second. What would it be? Second and third pair.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, this is again slam dunk. If he has a king, he's calling. I mean, this player's calling so light all the time.
Right.
And I bet over pot here.
I don't mind this. I like this. I think once you get that really good turn card, I think your equity goes up a shitload. And now I'm on board with this big bet.
What was it? So then I bet like 65, I think.
Okay.
Well, no, a little bit bigger.
Sorry. I was about to say this. If you're saying big bet, this is definitely going to be more.
No. How much? No, I think it was like 110 probably.
So it's probably about pot size. Is that what you're looking?
110 is what I think it was.
Okay.
He calls. The river is like a great one. It was a low club.
Okay,
so I'm like, this is the dream right here.
Yeah.
So
it seems like a very all the front door flush bricks out, and the king is so you're looking at a lot of king queen king jack type stuff that's unimproved. So this looks great.
Yep. And he checks to me. Are you betting here or checking back?
So I think you have to be, you're definitely betting here. It's 100% a bet. I mean, I don't even think this is thin value. It's a, I mean,
okay.
The front door flush bricks. The king has no reason to think he's not good here. Like king, queen, king, jack. You can get value from king, queen, king, jack, king, 10. The other draws, I mean, also if you have 7-8, there's 9-10 that just bricked. When the king stays this way, I think you can easily get value. I think this is a slam dunk bet.
Oh, that makes me feel better at least. I bet 125. He snap called and hit the runner flush.
I mean, what were his 2 cards? Do you remember?
No, they were low. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
It was a great game. I just couldn't win. It was one of the best games I've been in a long time. I saw a $1,000 pot get won versus this guy, and the guy who beat me. He had king no kicker versus couldn't beat top pair. And all the money went in.
Good
over
God.
Over $1,000 pot. This was one of the best games I've been in a long time. Couldn't win. Couldn't do anything actually. So now we're on third bullet here. So that was a tough hand for me. I'm happy to hear that you would bet though, because I was very easy to be results oriented. I was just like, well, I mean, I just got to be just the biggest chump in the world apparently.
I don't even think it's close actually on that hand. I think it's easily a bet. If he runs into it, he runs into it. But there's so much you're getting value from, especially from a player like that. I think that was a slam dunk actually.
My final hand of note, you got to make a cameo in. You showed up to watch the final hand. I'm in the button straddle again with pocket queens, a club and a heart. So at a table that's very limp happy, somebody makes it 20, another guy raises to 40. I then re-raise to 125.
Did you say your stack size? So I feel like that's going to come into play here.
Oh, I mean, it's not much more than, it's like close to $300.
Okay, I got you.
Guy calls 125, other guy calls 125. I have $79 left.
Okay.
Yeah. So the flop comes ace king 10.
God damn. What about the worst possible goddamn flop?
Guy bets 70 or my remaining money. His friend folds. You walk in. I say, hey, Clint, I'm about to bust out. Come watch this. I call. And then as soon as I call, the guy next to me says, I folded queen jack. And I'm like, well, that's not what you want to hear when those are your outs.
Yeah, when you don't have that many outs and they folded 2 of them.
Yeah. The other guy had ace king. Yeah, and that was it for me.
Yeah, that's I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, fitting, I guess, but that's about it.
It's one of those that, there's only so much you can do. If you're going to get out-flopped and outrun on, it just is what it is. That ace-queen hand was pretty brutal. That trips hand was brutal. The runner flush was brutal.
Well, I'm just happy to hear that you would have bet that river, because, and whenever you're just hemorrhaging money, you feel like every decision you make is obviously wrong.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't that out to lunch.
Yeah, I don't even think it's that close, actually. It's when so many draws brick.
I thought I was so good.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, that's just a slam dunk bet. Obviously, if he raises, all of a sudden that's a problem.
Oh no! Well, then the backdoor flush, then you have to look at some other things. But
yeah, no, I think it'd be way too weak to check there. There's a lot. There's a lot of things. I think if you have a king with a good kicker, it'd be close. So it's I think 2 pair is just way too weak to check. Would be way too weak to check back, and I think you're getting value from a ton of things. Like, well, not a ton of things, but the most obvious. I mean, when the vast majority of the draws brick and top pair stays good. I mean, you got to at least hope that top pair calls you.
Whenever it's a player who won over $1,000 pot with like king 5, king 8,
yeah,
they're definitely probably calling if they have a king.
That's definitely fair. So it's so yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a slam dunk play, and I think that's just I think it'd be way too results oriented to say that was a bad bet, like a bad bet. So
well, on that note, I got drug out in a body bag, but that concludes Textbook Podcast. Talk to you next week.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.